Hello everyone, Joe here from JCS-Charting. This time I would like to start off with my record book. This is the latest printout of my swing intermediate trades of DAX. At the bottom you see each month the total points I made. You see a constant growth. March was already a record over 9,000 points, followed by April and May over 16,500 points in May itself. June brought us already 3,000 points. In the first week of June, at the top you see here the cumulative add up of all months from September to June, 67,000 points. Imagine you would have just traded €1 per bip. All of these trades are transparent for the advanced membership only. You find that at www.jcs-charting.com. Let's hop into the charts. Okay, we start off with the DAX daily chart. At the cash, the cetera indication, I just want to point out here the yellow bullish gap bubbles. Members know about it. I kept saying as long as they persist, there's nothing short in the market, even if you don't want to believe what's happening since April 7th. We have 12 gaps which disconnect each of these bubbles, and we have a new disconnect from the last 3 trading days. And if there's another gap up on Monday or Tuesday, it will continue until we hit our min targets of the daily chart, which is at 24,776. And I also kept saying, even on Twitter, I was posting that quite a lot last week, there are major gamma and open interest levels between 24.5. We hit that already here with that all-time high at 24,479, all the way up to 25,000. We're gonna have a look at that in a minute. The EMA 50 here got hit twice, reconfirmed after we gapped above that line. We should retest that line sometime in July if you want to have my opinion on it. But we need to clear these targets here first. These are the min targets, and it doesn't mean it's going to stop there. DAX just qualifies to be done, but there's even a higher target, the 161. If DAX is going for that move I anticipated the whole time until our next astro turning date into June. And we stay with the daily chart, but this here is the VDAX, the volatility index of the DAX. And I even made a X post on that, and I think it started somewhere here. And all these moves here, these projections you see, they have been in the chart before. I all anticipated that quite well, and I want you to focus on that divergence now, the green line. We are already making higher lows on the volatility index while DAX is making new all-time highs. We just haven't met these price levels at the performance index yet. So keep an eye on that divergence here compared to that low from the 16th of May. There will be a significant move higher, something like that, because most of the time these pop up, they don't occur by itself. There's usually a second leg associated with it, especially at the VDAX. So I assume another one going up here pretty soon, also in association with our astro turning date. And we hop quickly into my Discord server. Let me check the DAX. This here was the latest. Oh, there we go. This was the latest Smart Money update here from the 1st of June. I think that was Monday. And I'm not going to read here what's it's saying. You can just go through it by yourself. I just want to point out here what's happening with Smart Money, because they offloaded quite a lot from that high here, which was at that all-time high. And since then they were selling, and we were looking for another divergence. I won't give you the latest figures. They are provided by my partner wallstreetkorea.com, by the way. And we are looking for another divergence to smart money. We are not there yet. Smart money, I can tell you, is already moving up again. Once you check the latest data from Friday, in correspondence with the all-time highs here DAX is making. So we are looking also for that sell signal, that smart money, that negative divergence we need before we go short. By the way, I'm just longing the whole time the DAX. All my points I showed at the beginning, most of them were driven by just long orders, long options, by the way. Okay, this is the last DAX chart I'm gonna show you today. This is out of my Gamma Open Interest volume report I provide for my advanced members. And you see here the delta exposure of call and put options. The calls are at the top, the puts are at the bottom, and it gives you the rate of change. And we see a significant increase at that 25,000 level in put and calls. That means puts are building up right here, and that strike level of calls is also very likely that we see the 25,000 level into the June contract, which expires in 2 weeks, unless they roll over into the September contract. We're going to stay with the delta exposure. This here shows you the VIX exposure of the rate of change for the June contract, and the VIX, by the way, is somewhere here at 16, and there is a significant increase also at that 27-30 area. And once we have a look at the VIX, and this here is now the VIX on the daily chart. All these projections have been given right or just way in advance. You can check that at my Discord. I even made an X post about that, of all these previous updates. We were looking for a breakthrough of that red dashed line here, by the way, that started in December 2024, and now we are looking for that significant lower low to retest these lows out of February. Out of there, we are going for these levels I just showed you out of that Gamma report, that we are going above that spike here out of May, and we are looking for that low here around the 11th, 12th of June for the VIX low. That doesn't mean the index S&P 500 is topping right at that date. Most of the time, the volatility keeps rising 2-3 days in advance before the S&P finds actually its top. Here we got the S&P 500 on the hourly cash chart. I was posting actually that chart here on X quite a lot. We see that very nice symmetrical triangle here shown in red. I kept telling my members, by the way, that whole price action here is completely disconnected from that gap from May 9th, which is a runaway gap, which is bullish. And here we have another bullish island reversal, by the way, which is the other bullish sign. And on Friday, we even gapped up again, and we stayed the whole day, the whole price action stayed at a quite high level. So that is still bullish, guys. And even that back test here of that triangle, it's another kiss and goodbye sign. 6051 is our magnet, since we have seen that backtest of that upper TL, and 6051 gives us either we get the hourly close above for higher levels into 6128 to 6159, or we get a stronger rejection from here. I assume we get that hourly close above. That symmetrical triangle also got targets for higher. We have point A here, 5967 and 5768. I got a target calculator for that. 58. Oh, forgot the numbers already. 5768. 5967 is already put in, and here we take 5921. That what that back test, that is that breakout point. 5921. And here we get these targets, 6086 at the first target and 6120. And once we go into that chart, that is right in the middle of that sequence, that green sequence. But these sequences are much more accurate, so we go with that. Here we got the hourly NASDAQ cash chart. And yeah, that projection has been in the chart since the beginning of last week. Yes, there is a bearish Elliott Wave wedge here shown in red, and I'm sure it will fire. I doubt that we fire all the way down yet. I assume we are squeezing much higher first. These are our trigger levels, 22,078 and 22,128, and once we get above these levels, I'm pretty sure we're going to see 22,500 very soon, before we see any move to the downside, guys. That thing is not going to fire anytime soon, if you ask me. And here, by the way, is our JFD indication of the NASDAQ hourly chart. This is the main tool or the main chart we look at. I just want to show you once again how accurate our lines or our levels work, how NASDAQ is, and also even DAX and the Dow Jones are so accurate within these fib lines. Here we determined that turnaround level at 21,455. Yeah, almost on the dot by 3 points, and then it completely turned around. By the way, here after hitting the min targets, we had that pullback. It was a pullback. Why it was a pullback? Because 21,847 triggered for higher. That is that blue sequence. I'm not going to show you the targets. This is for members only. So that whole move here to the downside was a buying opportunity, which I kept telling my members. And we jump into the Dow Jones Industrials, our 4-hour chart this time, JFD indication, and also a nice symmetrical triangle here, which triggered right here. Here we had that typical pullback, that little faker here to the upside, retesting that lower trend line, and then the breakout on Friday. That can be considered here as a backtest of that upper TL. The targets for that triangle, 43.50. 551, the 100% move, 44,271, and you see here all these sequences, they are all being triggered for higher. Here is an interesting area, 43,086 of that blue sequence here, which is a bit larger, which started already in April sometime, but even these sequences here, which started here at 41,939, it should get us at least into that first target of that triangle. We continue with gold 4-hour chart, and you see here in blue that descending broadening wedge. Few people call it a bullish flag channel. I call it a descending broadening wedge because price is actually banding while moving lower. That was also a perfect ABC move, by the way, within our cycle lows. We had a very nice bull run, which started here at our subcycle low. The next subcycle low is already overextending. I assume we might see on that Monday Globex session a back test, a retest, a kiss and goodbye here of that upper TL very late of that subcycle low before we run higher. We have triggered that green sequence, that little one, and once I zoom out here, you see where we can head to of that descending broadening wedge. These targets are 3670 and 3735. And we have a quick look into silver, also a 4-hour chart. We had a range here for quite a long time, since the end of April, and that range broke out significantly last week. Once a range breaks out, you can just duplicate that range to the upside, but you see how we went even higher, and that's why we have our sequences. And that green sequence here triggered above 34.98. It hit that second min target, which likes to be turned around, the 138 on the dot. We nailed that, and then yeah, we had that little pullback. Once we check the daily is actually running very, very smooth. You see here these cycle lows, they work perfectly over the last month. We had a pop gun here which popped up to the upside. We have already 3 duplications. Somewhere here was another one right here. So that pullback to that 31 level is not required anymore, but we have that that was here our main target, 36.23. Members will confirm that. This has been in the chart since the end of last year. We finally got that, and we see already the first reaction at that level. 36.97 is the next trigger for running higher. So that zone here between 30.23 and 36.97, if silver manages a daily close first above that level and then finally above that level, that will give momentum on the bullish side for further up. Yeah, last but not least, Bitcoin. This is a 4-hour time frame, and first we had a very clean rising channel here. It wasn't really a channel because we didn't have enough confirmation points here to the upside. However, that trend line here on the bottom seems to be quite significant, because first we were stuck right here before we broke it. We were oscillating here for quite a while before we made that last dive to hit that first min target here, by the way, of that red sequence. And then we rallied out of that subcycle low, which we did already here and here and here and here. And actually we kept on buying, building up our position and into that decline here, by the way. And now we are just hanging at that lower trend line again of that rising channel. Once we break that, there should be 108,416 coming up very soon. According to my system, it is already a magnet level, so that should be, there's a very high probability that we see that in the next couple of hours or days. And once we get the 4-hour close above there, usually what happens, we break through that line, we come back, and then here, by the way, is the trend line of a descending broadening wedge. We trigger that wedge, we go to our magnet level. Best case, we trigger that, and then we pull back for the descending broadening wedge and for that sequence before we are going for these min targets. Most of the time it oscillates here, hits the bonus targets, which would be another all-time high at 113, which I assume to be hit very soon. Okay, that's about it. I try to cover most important markets for my members, because these are the markets we are mainly invested in, also in long-term investment in stocks. Maybe next time I'm going to show you a bit more on our tech stocks we bought back in April. I hope you liked that video. It was a bit different than the previous ones, and yeah, if you want to become a member, you're welcome to join at www.jcs-charting.com. You can leave me a like or a nice comment on that video, and I see my members tomorrow at the blog. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.